What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Fan of Life channel, Fan of Life show. Before we dive into today's topic, I want to take a quick second and acknowledge the fact that I am not wearing a V-neck today for once. And if you guys dig enough into the internet, you might see a infamous person with a shirt similar to this. So today I want to talk to you guys about a recent deal that I put together, and I think up to now is probably my best deal. And the reason why I bring it up is not to talk about the actual deal itself, but the principle behind how we put the deal together. A lot of times when you walk into a sales, a pitch, or a negotiation, a lot of times people think the bottom line is always going to be the dollar amount, what you can sell something for, what you can buy something for, etc., etc. But what you have to do is go beyond the dollar amount, because if it's always best price, then there's no skill to be had. And I will tell you right now, the skill of sales and negotiation, in other words, understanding people, is probably one of the best skills you'll ever learn. Whether you get into the sales force or you do any type of presentation or pitch. It's a skill set that I encourage people to learn and to practice. So here's how this deal came about. A long time ago, one of my flips I bought from a person that was out of state. She lives all the way in Maine. She had an issue, she had a challenge property. We went in there, we negotiated a good proposal. She accepted, I bought the house, and I treated her kindly and well, because that's how I was raised, quite frankly. Aww. She remembered that experience, so she called me a few months ago and said, I have 2 more homes to sell, but I have issues with them. Again, this is a remote person. She lives in Maine. She owns property here. And as we all know, over the last 18, 19 months, there were a lot of tenants not paying rent. For one reason or another, some are legitimate, some are not. The 2 last properties she had were not legitimate. They just decided to take advantage of the situation and not pay her rent. So I want you guys to think about income. Imagine your job not paying you for the last 18, 19 months. It puts a strain on you. So when she called me, she was frantic. She was done with it. She was mentally checked out. She just wanted things to be over. So as I listened to her talk and listened to her issues, I wanted to make sure that I gave her enough time to get her emotions off her chest. Because if she's not emotional, we can then talk a little bit more logical in terms of what's going to be best for her. So what we came up with is this. I will be the boots on the ground for her, meaning that I will resolve the issue of getting a delinquent tenant out of both of her properties. These guys end up being druggies, as they typically are when they start to become delinquent and abusive. So I had that to contend with, but that's another story for another day. So this is the picture that I paint for her. I said, seller, I'm not going to name her by name, but I said, seller, you're in your 60s, you're about to retire, you live across the country. I think in your time right now, you should be enjoying your golden years. And what that consists of is not just money, but also time. Every time you have to call these guys and track down your rent, which you're not getting, and every time you try to get a constable involved, which they are not doing due to COVID at the time, you stress and you spend too much of your waking hours thinking about the things that you can't control. So I will take upon myself to control this for you, since I'll be boots on the ground. Like I said before, I took care of the delinquent tenants, and I built a structure around these 2 properties. Instead of just paying her what we negotiated, I asked her this: would you rather have a windfall of cash that you'll be taxed on, or would you rather have ongoing income for X amount of years? So she said, well, I really don't need the money, I just don't want the stress. So if you don't need the money, seller, and you just want to get rid of the stress, I can definitely give you a scenario that does both. What if I take care of these properties and I buy it from you? But instead of me giving you everything at once, we do what's known as a seller finance. I explained to her, banks make money by loaning out money. And basically, I give her the opportunity to be my bank. This does 2 things. It helps the seller have a position in the house where they continue to get their monthly income without any further responsibilities or headaches. And it allows me to pick up properties without traditional loan, without going through the traditional paperwork, qualification, etc., the headaches of trying to get underwriting done. So basically, without going into details of the loan, what I did was I set her up as if she was the bank. I purchased these 2 properties for a very small down payment because I want to give her some cash up front. I also was able to negotiate because of my hard work in her eyes of getting out the delinquent tenants, fixing up the property, getting new renters in there. I was able to negotiate 1 full year of non-payment. So in other words, I'm sitting on these two homes that I just acquired for a very minimal down payment without one payment to her until a full calendar year. During this process, I've cleaned up the property. I've first evicted the tenants, cleaned up the property, got new tenants in, and have begun my cash flow. I have now 10 more months of cash flow before I have to make my first payment. I'm happy, she's happy. The point of this story is this, guys, without again going into details, because there's more inner workings on this, and maybe I'll do a seller financing detailed video. But what I wanted to just get across to you guys is there's more ways to do a deal than just price. What you have to do is you have to understand what the pain of the seller or the person you're trying to help is, and see how you can resolve their issue, resolve their pain. And I'll tell you, most of the time, it doesn't have to do with money. It has to do with something deeper, which is in her situation, she's of retirement age. She is across the country. She no longer wants to deal with the headache and the stress, because stress is a huge burden on anybody, no matter how much money you have. I came in, I addressed the problem, and as a result, she's happy, I'm happy, and now I own 2 additional rental properties. And out of pocket, I'll share with you now actually, out of pocket for both properties was $15,000. And on top of that, I'm now cash flowing $800 a month with a $120,000 equity position between both homes. It's a win-win for everybody. So as you walk into your negotiations, walk into your sales pitch, or just have conversation with everyday life people, understand and try to listen for where the pain is. If you can resolve people's pain, you will become very wealthy at whatever it is that you do. Until next time, make sure you guys hit subscribe, give it a like, share with your friends and family, and continue to grow this channel.